What's up, DuckTales fanatics? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Spear of Selene and Della's disappearance. And this may be a shocking revelation to some of you, but apparently the Spear of Selene is a rocket ship. Yeah. We'll get more into this in the future of this video. The episode starts off all casual as if they're on a vacation and are ready to get on to one of the greatest adventures of their lives. But boy, is it the exact opposite of that. I told you all that this show had potential, and oh my gosh, what a great episode, but seriously, one of the most depressing episodes of them all by far. All seems to be going well until Launchpad decides to give a tour around the Sunchaser with Miss Beakley. While packing up all of their belongings inside of the Jeep, you can also notice that the triplets as well as Webby decide to bring all of this equipment in order for them to finally be able to crack the case with what happened to Della Duck. So, ironically, within the 2 minutes of their time away from the steering wheel, Scrooge McDuck decides to take over and eventually crashes on top of a thin, rocky formation. And the stakes are extremely high for the triplets as they all gather around and try to get the last remaining piece for the paper of the mystery. But indeed, while all this is going on, you can definitely tell that Scrooge McDuck is keeping it together and trying to make sure that all of his family and friends are protected while this is happening. And so is Miss Beakley, as she constantly warns and even begs Scrooge to step down if he's not capable of fixing the issue.
Please, for the safety of your family, admit you cannot fix this.
Both about saving the Sunchaser and the children, mainly Dewey, who by the way gave zero flocking ducks about his safety. As we see throughout this episode just how determined he was to learn more about his mother. I also found it awfully familiar. Now that I think about it, when it comes to continuity, Dewey was the same one to turn his back against Scrooge in the very first episode of DuckTales after overhearing him saying that family is nothing but trouble. During Scrooge's attempt to get Dewey from potentially killing himself, you even hear Scrooge mumble, "Not again," referring to the last time he lost a family member, aka Della Duck, which made him lose trust in his family as well, which is exactly what's coming up next. And please, if you haven't watched this episode yet, I recommend that you watch it first before I get into it deeper. Finally, after Scrooge catches up with Dewey, Dewey decides to ask Scrooge what happened to his mother once he was done showing Scrooge the last remaining piece of the paper. The story goes like this. Della Duck truly was a kind person, but unfortunately a person that was a bit too curious. Both Scrooge and Della had already adventured their way throughout the entire Earth, so they decided that their next journey would be in outer space. And the irony in all of this is the fact that DuckTales had an outer space music video with Marshmello. I don't know if that has anything to do with this storyline, but hey, that's something to mention. And finally, after getting the materials for building the Spear of Selene, which was revealed to be a rocket ship by the way, oh my gosh, the picture makes so much more sense now. Scrooge was going to surprise Della with the spaceship around the same time of the triplets' birth. However, Della decided to take it upon herself to go into the spaceship since her brother Donald had already forbid her to do it in the first place. And she was a pretty darn stubborn adventurer, like someone we already know, so that should have been expected. Unfortunately, during her time in space, the weather outside of the atmosphere was just too much to handle. So she didn't necessarily make it out alive, or at least we can presume. More on that a little later as well. The thing that got to all of the triplets, including Webby herself, was the fact that Scrooge instead encouraged her to push on through instead of turning around. He never expected her to pass away since she had already nearly a perfect track record of surviving tons of other more dangerous adventures with him, which is understandable. But not only that, it was also frustrating for the kids themselves to wonder why Scrooge would even build a spaceship the moment she already was about to have 3 kids to hatch. And yes, I said hatch, because remember, these are ducks we're talking about, people, and when I first heard it myself, I had to think about it for a second there too. Anyways, as everyone begins to shift the blame on Scrooge, Scrooge himself begins to get into a fit of rage after being even accused of not spending enough money to send ships looking out for Della, which sadly in the end is revealed that he did everything in his power and ability to bring her back. I can even go further into saying that because of that incident, not only does he believe that family is trouble, but it's also the reasoning for why he is so conservative with all his spending as of date. Because what we see is that as a result of all that happening, he did gather help to look for her in space, and he does have suppressed guilt from that day, as well as denial of the fact that in reality this was technically his fault. We even saw that there was no signal left after some time of searching, his constant frustration of losing her and why that piece of paper was torn aggressively, and we even go into depth as to why he would hate being accused of not knowing what to do in certain situations, especially if it has anything to do with saving a family member. Because he's Scrooge McDuck, and he wants to make sure after that incident he has everything together, and that something as catastrophic as that mistake never happens again. This entire episode explains perfectly as to why Scrooge and Donald, as well as the rest of his family, were all avoided by him for so long, approximately 10 years. And after the families fall out with each other, the triplets decide to move out of McDuck Mansion and decide to move back at the docks with Donald Duck, who thankfully, despite his bad luck, managed to fix up the dock after that entire crash incident in one episode. Plus, Miss Beakley alongside with her granddaughter Webby also get away by using their 987 vacation days early, leaving McDuck in complete isolation once more. Including the old ghost butler too, so yeesh. This really does explain the whole incident with the mystery behind the Spear of Selene, except the name of the ship itself, of course. The Spear of Selene confused most of just about everyone, since you would think it was an actual spear artifact ancient to an original owner. I'm guessing that the first part of its name, which is a spear, is because it's shaped like one, and the rest of its name stating of Selene is due to the fact that Selene stands for the goddess of the moon within Greek mythology. And since the moon is indeed in outer space, well, I'm pretty sure you get the whole entire story now. And it's something that I'm more than willing to believe, because we even see Zeus himself in the show already, so yeah, I figured it out like a boss. You're welcome. This episode was definitely one of the greatest episodes of the season by far, and as for the next one, it's going to be a two-part episode finale, which I will be doing a review for this upcoming Saturday, and this transcends into what we already were able to see in the promo as well. There's a moment where we see Scrooge eating pizza and moping around on the floor like a hopeless bimbo. I'm sure it's because of the after events of this episode, knowing that Scrooge is now alone and Miss Beakley is nowhere to clean or even cook for McDuck. And plus, come on, he's definitely depressed after that entire situation. So that basically concludes this video. I'm really ready to explore what's to happen next in this show. You really would expect a villain to back off after a depressing event like this that just took place an episode earlier, but my gosh, all this is happening at the same time. And so with all that being said, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed this DuckTales analysis video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace!